Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between Pete Buttigieg, the former Secretary of Transportation on the Democratic side, versus J.D. Vance, the current Vice President, of course, on the Republican side. So we'll be going through each of these swing states. I'll start out in Arizona and Nevada. I'll start out with Arizona. So I do think Arizona has a good chance of being in the tilt Republican column. Biden was, of course, able to win this state in 2020, but it reverted back to the Republican Party and went to Trump. It was actually the swing state of these core seven that went to him by the biggest margin. And I think that Vance might even, I don't think he'll be able to outperform Trump's 2024 margin, but I do think he would be able to hold the state if he were running against Pete Buttigieg. So that is going to be 11 electoral college votes for J.D. Vance. Nevada, however, I don't think will be the same case for that. I'm going to put into the tilt blue rating, so that is going to be 6 electoral college votes for Pete Buttigieg. As you can see, this is largely, aside from the swing states, which were in the toss-up column, this is based on the 2024 election results for both parties, which is why some of these states generally look a little more favorable for Republicans. Like we have states in the Northeast, like Rhode Island and Connecticut in the likely column, even though generally they are in the safe column. Just 2024 was a good year for Republicans. It, of course, resulted in a Trump victory, which is why many of these states are a little further to the right than they would be in an average election with average candidates. So that is going to be 6 electoral college votes for Pete Buttigieg, though. And both Pete Buttigieg and J.D. Vance have a lot of connections in the Rust Belt. We'll be ending with the Rust Belt. For now, we'll go to the Sun Belt. I do think Pete Buttigieg has probably got a good chance at winning the state of Georgia. Buttigieg, he's gone on Fox News. He's kind of tried to portray, well, he did when he ran for president in 2020 for the Democratic Party's nomination, and he's tried to appeal to more moderate voters, and I do think that would be a good factor to help him win the state, especially in a state like Georgia. This state was the narrowest that went to Biden in 2020, but nonetheless, Biden was able to win it. They also have 2 Democratic senators, and it'll be interesting. We'll have to see what happens in 2026. Jon Ossoff, senator, of course, from Georgia, a Democrat, is running for re-election, so that'll give us an indication on if Democrats will be able to possibly win the state on the presidential level 2 years later in 2028. There are some voters, of course, that only come out before the presidential elections, so that will be a factor, but midterms can still give us a decent indication of which way the tides are shifting. And then we get to North Carolina. North Carolina, I'm going to put in the tilt red column. I do think that in the long run, North Carolina is going to become more and more democratically inclined, more friendly towards the Democratic Party. But I don't think this would be the election. But if these 2 candidates, that it would be a result of that it would go to the Democrats. It hasn't done that on the presidential level since 2008 when it went for Obama. But North Carolina, like Georgia, also has an interesting Senate election in 2026. So that can give us a possible indicator on if the state is going to be willing to vote for a Democrat on the presidential level. So that is going to be 16 electoral college votes for J.D. Vance. Then we will get to the little district here in Omaha. I forgot it. I do think that district, it even went to Harris by a couple points, so I think that it might even be in the lean category. For now, I'll just keep it tilt. But that regardless, that's going to be 1 more vote for Pete Buttigieg, the Democrat. So that leaves us with the 3 remaining Rust Belt states. So we've got Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I'm going to start with Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is probably Pete Buttigieg's and Democrats in general best chance of a state to win in the Rust Belt, so that is going to be 10 electoral college votes for Pete Buttigieg. And then Michigan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is where Pete Buttigieg now lives. He, of course, was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, but he's got ties, well, to the Rust Belt, just like J.D. Vance does. J.D. Vance, of course, was the former senator from Ohio. Then